done told me, Papa done told me too. Son, that gal you fooling with, she ain't all good to you.
We are back now. That's Elvis singing That's All Right, Mother.
That was the first Sun Records. That was when Elvis Presley's voice was first heard on the airways. That was the song he cut in Memphis at Sun Records. And that was music by request, by the way. I asked for that one today.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the final 15 of Teddy Bart's Roundtable for this morning. Monroe Carroll joins our table with Tommy, Forrest, Carlin, and me. Email address is onair@thepublicforum.org.
I got a question.
You
Do hospitals compete? Is St. Jude's a competitor, or do you view yourself as a
We're all
partner?
complementary.
All complementary.
I mean, the doctors share ideas, share protocols as far as treating an oncology patient without question. I don't think there's any competitive aspect. Certainly in an academic university or medical center, there's no competitive.
Off mic a moment ago, you were telling me about TennCare and the role that TennCare plays in this hospital. Tell us just a little bit about that and how you are able to view TennCare and use TennCare and the problems you've got with TennCare.
Well, the basic situation is you have to understand that the Children's Hospital, and I'm sure the big hospital will be the same, but we never turn a child away. If they show up there, they're admitted, irrespective of their ability to pay. TennCare, as I understand it, statewide, about 1 out of every 5 patients in the adult category is a TennCare holder. In pediatrics, 1 out of 2 of our patients are TennCare. 1 out of 2 covered under TennCare. We receive 70 cents on the dollar from TennCare. If the procedure normally costs $100, TennCare pays us $70. That does create a problem. But you can't, the child has to be treated, and we get kids who stay a long time and build up big bills because we get very critically ill children. It's a problem. We hope that something will be done that will help us in that area. In addition to TennCare, we have a lot of children who come from families who just can't pay it all. If you think about children, the parents are usually in the very beginning of their earning capacity. And if you have a child that's in neonatal for 6 or 8 weeks with a nurse assigned to that child, there's no way they can pay the whole bill. But you have to take care of the baby, and the baby goes home, and it's a new life. We have about $9 million annually of uncompensated care.
Annually.
And that doesn't count the 30% that TennCare asks us to absorb. So,
How is that handled? How is that $9 million? I mean, is that just written off, or is
right. It's an expense.
It's an expense.
It's an expense. And it creates a significant problem. The children's hospitals, this hospital, though, works very, very well. And we have a lot of patients who come from around the United States for services, and they can pay.
Let me ask you, if we assume that for whatever reason there just wasn't TennCare, how much then would you have to carry?
I don't know that number. I wish I could, but I don't. Obviously, when I say that 1 out of 2 of our patients are TennCare patients, it would be a significant number. It would be very, very high. TennCare has to, I mean, their 70%, you would have to say in that case, is valued.
What happened before TennCare? How was it
Well,
done?
in rural areas, doctors, hospitals, county court, whoever owned that local hospital took care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the great problems right now in the fear of TennCare, that if you were, for whatever reason, abolish TennCare in this state, you'd bankrupt those hospitals because they couldn't bear that burden. I don't know what it would do. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't bankrupt this hospital, but it would sure put you in a financial strain if there was no TennCare.
Well, the children's hospital and the big hospital, I call it the big, where the adults are, is all merged together as far as the profit and loss is concerned. So Vice Chancellor Jameson has to consider both of them in the same package. So presently, I believe the present children's hospital passes losses over to the big hospital, which are then absorbed into the whole package. We hope that with the new hospital and other services and so on, that we will be able to do much, much better than we have in the past as far as that's concerned. But the critical issue is we want that child to come in. We want that child, regardless of what they can pay or not. And I mean, they create miracles out there every day, Tommy. One of the things that's going to come of the new hospital, presently we have 4 beds, 4 rooms for myelosuppression. This is where a child is being prepared for a bone marrow transplant with leukemia. It's my understanding that in children in their type of leukemia, we have a 70 to better % ratio of cure, whereas adults it's much, much lower. We have a waiting line. We did, I believe, 25 bone marrow transplants last year out of those 4 rooms, and those children are in there for extended stays because you isolate them, you kill all the so-and-so. We're going to have 12 now in the new hospital, so we'll just, by 3, be able to increase the number of children we can accommodate for bone marrow transplants. And that's a life and death situation. There's no alternative. I mean, if you don't get that child, unfortunately, is probably going to die. So I get very emotional about it as far as the importance of that hospital.
Is there a provision for counseling, Monroe?
Oh, yes. We have something called, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a new addition. Let me just say, I went to the hospital 5 years in a row when I was a child, and I had good memories. I went to the old St. Thomas. But what we have now, we have something called a child care specialist. It's a very important part of the whole medical process, particularly with children. And this person or these people sit down with the parents and tell them exactly what's going to take place, how this child is going to react, what is the prolonged diagnosis. And so the family is an integral part of that whole situation. We even, if the child is, let's say, old enough to really go to the playroom, we take the child to the playroom before the surgery or before, and we have these little puppets. And assuming we're going to do something to their stomach, we peel back the front of the puppet, and the child picks out his so-and-so or this, that, so-and-so. He gives the puppet the IV in the arm, and all of those, so the child is not afraid of it. And when they do put the IV in, the child care specialist is there talking to the child. I've had a grandchild over there twice. Little rascal didn't want to come home.
Okay, maybe a little
You know,
oversell.
I just have to say this. The first hour when he was talking about parking, he was very enthusiastic. But he's like a different man when he talks about this hospital, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's so good to see somebody that's so motivated.
Well, I was over there yesterday, and I'll probably go back today sometime. It simplifies life for you.
Yeah. Well, you know that people that have know about the work of the Children's Hospital and people that work there, I've heard stories, Monroe, about volunteers who have gone in there and devoted a portion of their time just as a volunteer to do various things and come out and be different people when they come out. You know, they think they have problems with their business or whatever. They come out of the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital as a volunteer, and they are a different person, and they keep on. I'm sure you're going to continue using volunteers over there for people.
Oh, yes, and I would encourage anyone who hears our show today to ask about this and become a part. Your Carlin visited the hospital, and she's a volunteer. And children love to be read, too. They love to be rocked. There's a wonderful world over there that exists, and as Tommy said, I am enthusiastic about it, but over there, you come away feeling good.
Well, there's something that is so special about a child that is ill and the way that child processes their illness in their own mind and emotionally. Different, I think, from adults. I think there's less denial with a child than there is with an adult.
Yeah. You have to understand that a child, after the illness and goes home and recovers, they don't have any bad memories about that trip. Their time in the hospital was fun because they came home better.
Yeah.
The mother and the fathers are the ones who suffer. That's when the crying takes place at night, when they think about what lies ahead for their child. Those are the real people who suffer. Now, if you go over, these kids are running up and down the hall, dragging that IV pole with them.
Riding the IV pole.
Or riding the IV pole, whatever. But it's also the attitude of the people and the doctors that are there. They are so positive, and they are so, I cry, they don't cry, but they smile, and that's more important than
Is there any help that the audience listening right now might give? Anything that they might continue to do or do that you would like them to know?
Well, I would like for them always to consider themselves as volunteers to come over and help in various ways. We have an organization, too, called the Friends of Children's Hospital. Wonderful group of women. And they do a number of fundraisers during the year. Steeplechase, they have the paper sale, a number of other activities. I would hope that people would support those activities when they come along, because 100% of that money goes to the Children's Hospital. There's no admin out of that. 100% of your dollar goes into that hospital.
I'll just say this about the volunteer program at Vanderbilt, because I'm a volunteer in training, is an extensive training program that goes into this. You'd think going in and rocking a baby or reading to a child is pretty darn simple. You show up and do it. There is an awful lot of psychological prep for what you're about to walk into, and it's very impressive. I've worked with several volunteer organizations, and it's perhaps the most organized I've ever seen. So the training portion of it alone is worth the price of the ticket.
My granddaughter was a volunteer this summer, and I learned things I didn't know, Tommy. You don't ever know what the illness is of the child when you're a volunteer. So the parent and the child is protected from confidentiality. You're there just as a good Samaritan.
And no child is turned away, is that correct?
No child is turned away. No, sir.
What will, this will be a dream come true for you, will it not, Monroe?
Oh, it will be for me and for many other people in Nashville. The Children's Hospital is an extension of the original Junior League home for crippled children.
Yeah.
You and I can remember polio.
Yes.
And with the salt vaccine, that became a controlled aspect. So we started our first children's hospital in 1970, which was the Junior League home. Junior League has continued to be a big, big supporter of the Children's Hospital, and it's evolved from 1970 to where we are here in 2002 and the opening in 2003.
You're going to have the opening in 2003,
The fall.
and everything is on schedule. Everything's being completed. pretty
Well,
much.
we'd like to have it tomorrow, but it's on schedule as they've told us.
Monroe, thank you very much for
Thank
being here
you.
this morning and for sharing your passion and your spiritual inclination to see this thing through and to make it happen. And congratulations on all the good that you've done for these children. Thanks for being here.
Been
this
my
morning.
pleasure. Thank you.
Monroe Carroll, founder of Central Parking, who actually, I agree with Tommy when he's talking about these kids and the children who need the help, is like the rest of us, feeling it very emotionally and very deeply. Forrest, thanks for coming up this morning. We'll get you back here soon, too. Tommy, see you back
In the morning.
here in the morning. And Carlin, I guess we've done it again, huh?
Yep, I'll be back.